In a zombie apocalypse, I imagine many things go in your mind. How will I get food? How will I protect myself? What will I do if I get sick? Is there even a point of surviving? Such thoughts could cloud a mind and even drive any normal person insane. And that's even if they have to worry about themselves. In the game Days Gone, you play as Deacon, but you'd be drawn to think that this game's only about the protagonist. In fact, it is opposite. You drive around as Deacon, slaying freaks and bandits, but you don't do these things for yourself. Deacon does all this because he loves too much for his own good, and he runs headfirst into danger, always for someone else, to put them before himself, even if it means fighting hundreds of zombies alone. Deacon was a man who was once a soldier for the United States Army's 10th Mountain Division. During his time in their service in Afghanistan, he had to pull out every member of his squad after an ambush sent their Humvee into the water. Soon afterwards, Deacon was discharged due to developing a fear of water from the trauma of the ambush. After leaving the service, Deacon didn't know what to do with his life, and he ended up getting a job at a motorcycle repair shop. His boss, Jack, was the president of a biker club, and he offered Deacon to join his club, the Mongrels. There he met Boozer. The two of them would become brothers. These two would go through so much shit together, having each other's backs. In his time with the Mongrels, Deacon met Sarah, the woman who would become the love of his life, and who would change his very world. Deacon even left the Mongrels to become a nomad. This upset the other biker brothers, but he did this so he can spend more time with Sarah. Although their wedding, Boozer was the only one who was there to attend. Deacon previously did not care too much about plants, but with Sarah, he learned so much about flowers, and this knowledge even helped him in the apocalypse later in the game. Boozer saw Deacon holding what he called tulips, but Deacon corrects him that these flowers he was holding are stonecrops, Sarah's favorite flowers. Deacon had life all figured out. His family was at his side, and he knew that they would never leave him. He would do anything for this family, and then the outbreak happened. Despite having hell broken loose, with sick people randomly biting each other and attacking each other, Deacon kept a cool head, avoiding the large crowds, attacking only when attacked, but still not trying to unalive anyone if possible. But Sarah got hurt by a little kid. Deacon and Boozer looked for a helicopter to escape the city and to get Sarah to a doctor. And if you ever booted up the game, you know what happens. Only two people could fit on the chopper. Sarah was going, but that was a no-brainer. Deacon wanted Boozer to get on the chopper so he could escape, but Boozer refused. Rather than leave his wounded brother to fight by himself, Deacon stood by Boozer's side. Deacon had assumed Sarah would be safe. There were camps with doctors and soldiers, and if nothing else, they were in a helicopter. Out of reach of the freaks, everything sounded safe and secure. As you know, the refugee camp was not safe. It was swarmed with freaks. Even the Nero soldiers were unable to stop the waves of infected. The helicopters were even destroyed and burned. Deacon was horrified. I imagine his blood ran cold, and time slowed to a point that it probably felt as if time halted altogether. The love of his life was supposed to be here, but there were only flesh-eating freaks. Deacon and Boozer cleared out the whole camp, and I bet this camp was overcrowded, full of people who tried to escape the horror, just for those desperate survivors to add to the number of freaks. This camp probably looked like one of those larger hordes in the game, and these two cleared out every single freak just to find one person. The love between these three individuals was so strong, enough for Deacon and Boozer to fight legions of freaks, a seemingly impossible battle. As they were fighting, Deacon looked at the face of every freak to check if it wasn't Sarah. But at the end of the battle, after all that hard fought, she was nowhere to be found. She was not amongst the freaks they slayed, nor was she any of the corpses left behind. Deacon broke. Not sure where Sarah is. He sent the love of his life to her doom. And he's not even sure if she was eaten, if she became a freak and wandered elsewhere, or if she's amongst the burned wreckage of the helicopters, or if by some miracle she survived. He doesn't know anything. Sarah is simply not here. I am unsure if he waited a few days or however long before he made a gravestone for her, or if he made the gravestone the same night. But we do know he would routinely visit the grave to talk to her and tell her about the things on his mind, or about the happenings going on from day to day. Although he was already mourning Sarah, he still held some kind of hope that she would still be out there somewhere, or if nothing else, if he ever found her outside as a freak, he would get some closure. The thought crawling in the back of his mind of where is Sarah would finally stop. After 2 years, Boozer and Deacon are still driving around in Oregon. Though I'm uncertain what kept them in Oregon, I imagine it was small hope that Sarah might still be out there, but I also believe it was all the familiar faces, and what few friends they still had kept them around. But In this time, Deacon and Boozer had talked about driving north to get away and find something new. Boozer convinced Deacon that a change of scenery might help him move on somehow. And then the events of the game happen. Boozer gets hurt by the Rippers, and their plans of heading north are halted. Deacon was slowly healing with time, but Boozer, being severely hurt, reopened those old wounds and formed even deeper cracks because the only remaining family he had left was now wounded to a point where his survival was uncertain. There were no more doctors or hospitals with proper treatments, or any medications are far and few. Deacon doesn't know what to do to help Boozer. He doesn't know if there's anything he can do to help him. Though he finds him pain meds and clean bandages, he knows it won't be enough to save his arm. And now his arm is developing an infection. Deacon is in a position where doing anything is almost pointless, but he still does whatever he can, just to make the suffering ease, even if a little bit. He tries to help Boozer apply the band-aid, but Boozer gets mad, and Deacon realized he wasn't helping, so he shut down, looking like he was hurt emotionally, and quickly left so he can go find some other way to help Boozer. Deacon is terrified. His loss of Sarah was sudden and unexpected, but this loss is looming, and it only grows more evident. This fear of Boozer's death doesn't push away the stress and hope of finding Sarah. This fear only clouds of what is left of his mind. For the rest of the game, Deacon drives all over Oregon, trying to do whatever he can to make not only Boozer's life better, but the lives of the people around him. Deacon will ride around and murmur to himself that he needs to come back and burn some nests, or he needs to come and clear a horde, or a bandit camp, or fight off the crazy Rippers by himself. He doesn't ask anyone for help ever, and as far as I remember, he never announces to anyone or lets anyone know that he's going to clear out the local threats. He faces these trials all by himself, almost like he feels like it is his responsibility to do these things. And I feel like he does all this because he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt. We saw what lengths Deacon went through just to get Lisa a thunder egg, just so she can feel a little bit better. This man loves too much for his own good. It is almost admirable that a single man tries everything in his power to try not to lose someone in this apocalypse where there are many more threats than just freaks. I'm not saying this man is a saint who loves everyone, but for the people he cares for, he will face everything the apocalypse has to throw at him.
Done.